Jean-Claude, how are you? It feels like you're in the same situation as me, except that the sky is a bit bluer where you are.
Yes, I am down in the south of France, in Ramatuelle, where I have a house. And in summer, I used to go down there and work there and also holiday. So it's a place where I do both. And I like to do both, in fact, because I am here quite relaxed, no pressure, no severe agenda, which are more or less the best conditions to work and innovate and to have new and fresh ideas.
It's I was thinking exactly that. Is that one of the places where the best ideas came from? And the time as well, Jean-Claude, because there's a lot to say on how people are naturally pushed to take a break this time of the year. And I find that I really enjoy working this time of the year because you get some space that you normally wouldn't get. And actually, you take a great advantage by being active this time of the year when everyone else is kind of, a little bit on the brakes, shall we say.
Yes, it's the same idea that I developed in quite late in the 1986, 88. I decided that if I work every morning at 5, I will have 2 hours being alone. Because between 5 and 7, I thought nobody would work, and that would give me a huge advantage, 2 hours per day. And if you work only 300 days, and you have 2 hours advantage per day, that's 600 hours. 600 hours divided by 40 hours per week, that's 15 weeks. So you are a position of 15 weeks only if you work 2 hours more per day, only 300 days in a year.
And numbers are important.
That was my calculation in the 80s, and I followed this rule, and I'm still more or less following it. Every morning when I get up early, I don't get up by a wake-up call, I get up naturally. When I get up some days at 5:30 in the morning, some other days at 4:30, I decide to work, and I say before starting to work, let's see how many hours will I have an advantage if I start now. And that gives you a great impression when you think you are alone and you can go ahead with no resistance. The world is open to you in the morning.
Very true. As long as you can make the effort to wake up, otherwise you can still find the time in other moments of the day or the night. But it's a great point. And Jean-Claude, today we have a little theme. The last time we discussed about the power of reinventing yourself, which is sometimes hard, but sometimes so critical and so good to again take advantage on anyone else. So we have a little theme today based on which the people that are following this can ask their questions. But we have a question initially that nothing has to do with that unless we can find a thread. Why do watch collectors love Jean-Claude Biver and criticize Hublot these days, Jean-Claude? Do you have an answer to that?
I have no real answer because I don't understand why you should criticize Hublot. I think there are more reasons to criticize me than my brand Hublot. If you would say me, how is it possible that many people are criticizing you, but all the people are, nobody is criticizing Hublot? That would be the right way to say it.
So do you think Hublot is still on the same track as from when you were involved, or don't you think there is any kind of decisive change that make people think that eventually?
I don't follow so much nowadays, especially I have a lot of work to do to follow myself and to follow my own brand. So I'm not so much aware anymore about Hublot. And when I people from Hublot, usually we never talk business because they're friends. And we go together on the sailing boat. We go together to the beach, and of course we don't speak so much about Hublot. But I think Hublot has never been understood by the majority of people because it's a very disruptive brand. And if you are heavily disruptive, you will have less followers than if you are in the trade and you are in the mood of everybody. So the critic of Hublot, I think, is natural. It is linked with the quantity or the disruption of the brand. And it's a disruptive brand in the communication, it's a disruptive brand in the product, it's a disruptive brand in the promotion. And that might be one of the reasons why people are criticizing. If there are other reasons, I will have to check because I don't follow it so much and I'm not so much interested by the past. What is interesting me is how can I make my future, not by repeating my yesterday. I would hate to repeat what I did, and because I'm looking to reinvent myself. And if you reinvent yourself, it cannot be a copy of yesterday. So I'm not really in a mood to know much about Hublot, much about the latest development, but the little I know still gives me the impression the brand is very dynamic.
Very good, very good. And for those, again, that wouldn't be familiar with Jean-Claude Biver, Jean-Claude Biver has a bright history in the field of watchmaking. Of course, Jean-Claude, you are credited for saving the idea of mechanical watchmaking altogether, when historically this idea was challenged heavily by the arrival of the quartz and first, and digital second, digital technology second. But Jean-Claude is also an entrepreneur, a philanthropist. So a philanthropist, a man that today is focused on sharing, giving back to the world. And that's the reason why Jean-Claude is here with us answering your questions. And also cheesemaker, Jean-Claude. And we have a question from one of our collectors in Dubai asking, is there any chance that the cheese could reach Dubai? Some of your cheese could reach Dubai at all?
I would love to send my cheese to Dubai to people who like my cheese. And if anybody would like cheese, as you know, I don't sell my cheese. Although we produce about nearly 10,000 kilo, my cheese is dedicated for offering. I offer it to people. It's a little way of mine to say thank you and to give my admiration of the cheesemaker and to promote it indirectly. But I never sell. I never sold. I never sold, because I thought that's not my duty. My duty is to sell my watches, and my cheese is another passion of myself, but I should not sell it. So if anybody wants it in Dubai or somewhere else, he has to send me an email, give me his address, and I will send him cheese.
So speak to me, guys, and I'll try to help you with that. And another question, I know that we could talk for ages about this, Jean-Claude, but you are an inspiration for a lot of youngsters, or formerly young, or diversely young, like myself. So there is here a request for an advice for someone who wants to build his own bespoke brand. And funny enough, Jean-Claude, you are in the process of reinventing yourself. You're exactly, once again, in that chapter of your life where you are starting new, starting fresh, and you're going to propose something bespoke and something new very soon. So what is the advice? What would you say?
My advice has never changed in the last 40 years. I give you a general advice. Of course, it's not sufficient and needs to be explained in detail. But I think you need to be first, different, and unique. Whatever you do, whatever proposition is, please don't forget not to be a follower, but to be, and a leader is someone who is first, different, and unique. If you are first in the product, or in the marketing or in the distribution way. If you are different from all the others, immediately people would recognize, for instance, your brand, your product. If you are different, if you are even unique, goddamn, first, different and unique, you have three huge advantages, and you should really start your brand. But it's not easy in the today's competition of our business to find a way to be first, different, and unique. And if you look at the big successes, for instance, Watch in 1971, it was the first brand from Switzerland in plastic. It was unique. There were not anybody else. And the Swatch watch, because of its colors, the way and the promotion they did, and the ambassadors they had, it was unique. So Swatch was in 1980 first, different, and unique. And see what happened? It was a huge success, and that is a rule that anybody who starts or is studying to do his own brand, he must first realize that if he is not first, different, unique, it will be very difficult. If he has a proposition where he can claim and declare, I am first, different, and unique, then I believe that he has a big chance to succeed.
Very, very, very clear. And in this respect, there's already another question, more pertinent to horology. So, in the war of being unique, what about the, how can I say, the trend that there is once something groundbreaking is introduced to try to do better and better and better and better? So, what do you think about the ultra thin war? Obviously, there is now a trend for those watchmakers that can condense as much as possible into the thinnest surface ever imaginable. And of course, the Richelieu, the latest Richelieu release was very much, the ultimate in terms of how thin a watch can possibly be. Do you get fascinated about these kind of details, or are you more about concepts? Are you more about the horology itself? What can you say about this?
What I can say, and what people probably don't realize, the war of ultra slim is not new. We have been trying, the industry, to make ultra slim watches for the last 200 years. And every year we were able, or every 3 or every 5 years, someone in our industry, some brand, was able to make an even thinner watch.
It started from sundials, and then clock towers, and then wall clocks, and then pocket watches.
It's a continued trial. It's something that has always been active, not very spectacular from time to time, but active. It has been active in the quartz revolution. The Omega had a watch called Dinosaur. There was I don't remember now the name of the ETA watch that was ultra slim. So even in quartz, people were fighting for ultra slim, and so in mechanical and in quartz watches, there has been a war to make the slimmest possible, and I think it is absolutely fantastic. I think that if you are a collector, you should really have an ultra slim watch, not necessarily the latest from I don't remember.
Richelieu, yeah.
You a fortune, but ultra slim is an interesting concept, and it shows how much you are able to master your art, and the slimmer the watch is, the more difficult it is to realize it. So it's something that is positive. It shows us that our art, the art of making watches or making mechanical watches is extremely active and is extremely innovative. That is what it tells me when I see all these ultra slim watches from Bulgari or now from Shamil.
So very clear. And the next question also pertains to more or less the same topic. Do you think that in respect of the watch industry today, there are more opportunities than what was in the past?
I don't think there are more opportunities. I think today there is a lot of competition. The watchmaking industry has grown among the people. People are much more watch conscious than they were 50 years ago. So there is more competition today because more people realize, or more people have a project and to go to watches. So and big brands have become much more powerful. When you think about the power of Rolex today, or the power of Cartier, power of Omega, the power of Patek, the power even of Richard, it's something that was not existing in that scale in 50 years ago. So because of this new evolution of the competition, it has become, in my opinion, more difficult to enter this business today than it was 20 years ago or even 10 years ago. The difficulty of today is, in my opinion, I have only 50 years of experience, but in my 50 years of experience, I have never seen a market that is so difficult to enter than it is today.
So having the right idea and the right timing has become absolutely compulsory now to have any sort of success. So you can't just come in and do something that has already been done and hoping for success.
Yes, again, as I said, it has never been so active, the industry. The innovation have never been so
so quick
and so spectacular.
Yeah.
Innovation in every field. You have innovations in the miniature repeaters, you have innovation in quartz, you have innovation in solar movement, you have innovation in every you have innovations at every corner of this industry. And that makes the industry extremely dynamic, but it makes it also extremely difficult.
Yeah, and there's a launch, a watch launch, arguably every week, and it doesn't matter if it's pre Watches and Wonders, after Watches and Wonders, near the main exhibitions worldwide. It doesn't really matter. We observe that every week there is a great idea coming out, a great watch coming out. It makes it difficult as well for collectors not to find in themselves in the rabbit hole of thinking that you need everything or you need more than what you really need to make your collection complete.
Yes, it's nearly impossible to have a complete collection today. You must choose a direction, a theme in your collection. And you must say, okay, I collect moon phase watches, or I collect chronographs, or I collect. But if you just want to collect watches, it's very, very difficult because you need to add a watch as you said, every week.
Absolutely.
So it has been, as I said, these are all signs how dynamic our industry has become, how successful, how popular, and so many young people are interested in watches. And 50 years ago, we thought that in future, the new generation would be more interested in quartz watches or in Apple watches, connected watches. No, it's not true. They are also interested in connected watches, but their interest in the old or the traditional way of making watches is still present, and it doesn't get reduced. The interest is still very, very heavy.
So just a reminder, we are live with Jean-Claude Biver. we are the limited edition. We specialize in independent watchmakers. And Jean-Claude Biver is accompanying us on an adventure of a broadcast that's called the Disruptors, where we talk about all the ins and the outs of the world of watchmaking from the man that most of anyone that we can think of has the greatest experience in the field. Jean-Claude, there is a very caring question that I wanted to submit to you. The great Pierre Render is asking, how do you feel, Jean-Claude? I wish you all the best. How is Jean-Claude Biver feeling these days?
Listen, I feel extremely positive and dynamic because I saw the first sample of my new watch. It's a sample that was printed. It's a printing in plastic, and it's the first time I see my design becoming a 3D dimension. But I know it's only it was printed. It's a printed example of my future watch, and I feel extremely positive because before, as long as you see designs and technical designs and you talk to suppliers, you are in the doubt because you have never seen with your eye the product. Now I saw it in, I know it's in plastic, it has been coming out from a printing machine, but even if it came out from a printing machine, I was amazed how great the product was.
And it gives you that excitement that you of the origins still, or how is it different, the fact that it comes to this particular time of your life?
It sounds fantastic because I never thought that the day I am 73 years old in 1 month, I never thought I would finish more or less my life with my last innovation. And I think it's a privilege that at 73 years, I can still have the emotions of creating a new watch. And that is a great, great privilege. Normally, I should be retired. Normally, I should not be anymore very active in the business. And on the contrary, I'm extremely busy, and I feel extremely privileged that I have my head, that I have my soul, and that is still alive and still very active. And I am also, you will see at the end, the final product, you will also be amazed and say, wow, how could I do that? And I think I can already give the reason. I can do that because my passion is watches. And after 50 years, I am better than when I started. And the age is like an old wine. Is every year is getting a little bit better. And that's...
and there's no limit.
So if I would be a bottle of wine, people would say, wow, let's wait 50 years before we drink, because as soon as the wine is 50 years old, it will be better than today.
Well, we can't wait to obviously see the results of this. And as we said, we have plans as well to involve your son, was of course involved in the project as well. So we can't wait to hear more. There is an interesting question from Analog Connection. Do you think that the overwhelmingly used in-house characterization for movement is a little bit overused these days? What is in-house for you, and how is it important?
It is certainly overused. In the history, you had usually, in 90% of the cases, you had the separation between the people who were producing movements and the people who were selling watches. Even at strong brands, look when at Omega, when they had the Speedmaster who went to the moon. In those days, in the 60s, was the movement built by Omega? Was it an in-house, the Speedmaster, or was it the chronograph from Alemania. It was a chronograph from Alemania. And Omega made it an in-house, but it came from outside. And this example, you can repeat it with many other products. So the in-house is a little bit a marketing tool from the last 20 years, let's say. But it has always been in our industry. You have always had people producing movements, people producing dials, people producing hands, people producing pushers and crowns, people producing cases, people producing movements. That was always separated. And it's only the big groups who tried to assemble this, to buy a pusher maker, to buy a crown maker, to buy a case maker, to buy a dial maker, to buy a maker of hands, and finally to buy a movement maker. That is a trend that started 20 years ago. So it was not like that in the past. And there is nothing wrong if somebody says, I order a movement or I order my dials from this or this supplier. Where's the problem? If you have a movement that was made by Renault and Papi, where's the problem? Renault and Papi is one of the highest quality, is one of the highest innovation. They are just geniuses. So if your supplier is a genius, where's the problem?
Yeah. And as you explained many times, it's all to do with the concept of the brand itself as well. If you are an artisanal watchmaker making 10 watches a year, and of course the idea of you making watches is actually to make watches by hands and to make them, in your house, then of course it has a certain importance. But if the idea is to supply the whole world with 30 pieces per point of sale in 500 points of sales around the world, then of course it has to be more of an industrial operation, I guess. Very clear and very interesting. So there is another question here. I can see. Sorry. So I'm gonna pin it now for you, Jean-Claude.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, but like this, I can't read it all. So I'll read it first and then I'll pin it. Dr. Biver, how along your lifetime did you manage to keep a balance between making a career, spending enough time with your loved ones, and having time for yourself? It's a very, very interesting question. Thank you.
That is a very interesting question that is related to passion. If you have a passion for watches or for football or for anything, for art, for music, every passionate has a problem to give time to something that doesn't belong to his passion. To devote time for your passion, that's naturally. You even don't count it. The passion asks from yourself a total occupation. But you must have restriction. It's like if you train, if you are a sport guy, you like 800 meters running, and you train like crazy, you might have the danger to overtrain. You might have the danger to have an injury. So training in sport is essential. But another element is essential is that one day you must stop training. You must give a possibility to the body to recoup. So this period where you stop for 1 day or 2 days, you stop any training, is not damaging your performance. It's increasing the performance. And it's the same in your life. It's not the day you spend with your kids or the day you spend with your wife that is damaging your success. On the contrary, it will a new inspiration. It gives you a new attitude. It gives you a new way to see. And that is important. Don't overwork. Don't overtrain. just give also time to other little things, and because they will bring to your passion some oxygen. They will, so you will need them. So I say, be careful. Don't let your passion eat yourself, because once the passion eats you, then the passion will become an enemy. The passion must be your friend.
Very, very wise words, and thank you again for the great question. Watches and words. Looking at Chrono24 and eBay, don't you think there are too many watches out there? I want to add maybe too many of the wrong watches or too few of the right watches, because then there is a massive problem of scarcity, especially in artisanal watchmaking. So, Jean-Claude, what is your reflection on this very interesting point raised by Thomas?
My reflection is a simple reflection of life. There is always too much of what we don't want, and there is too little of what we want. That's
very true.
Same, and it's the same for food. It's the same for enjoyment. It's the same for wine. It's the same for everything in life. There is never enough of what we want. There's always too much of what we don't want.
Very clear. And there's another question here that it relates pretty much to that. I've seen all your questions about Philippe Dufour, and I will resume everything on here by saying, Dr. Biver, do you think that independent watchmakers are becoming higher in profile?
I hope so. They should be. But to become higher in quality than Dufour will be difficult.
Of course.
Is the Mount Everest for climbers. So how can you climb higher than Mount Everest? So let's try to go already to Mount Everest. Let's try to already do like Dufour, and then we will see where
absolutely
further.
Absolutely. Of course, Daniels Dufour, Smith, and you know, your beloved Recep. Of course, they are symbols of a new wave of independent watchmaking that is surprisingly successful. Surprisingly, maybe not, but it's a surprise that finally there is big recognition, I think.
Yes, there's big recognition because Dufour opened the way. Now they all go, even myself, we follow the way that Dufour did in the in the world. Follow. He opened the road. He's like in winter when there's a lot of snow on the road. There is the car who is opening the road and cleaning the way with of the snow.
Of course, yeah.
That is
snow plow.
The snow plow, exactly.
Yeah.
That's Dufour, and I will also follow him. And I don't have a problem to follow, because you should never be ashamed to follow the master. You should be ashamed to follow people who are not the master.
Yeah.
But
absolutely
proud to follow the master.
Absolutely. Very interesting reflection here from, if I can get it back, from Irish Watch Guy, our friend Johnny. Hopefully, Jean-Claude, you have many more years left to go in the tank. Roger Waters setting out on another massive production, age 78, and Paul McCartney blowing Glastonbury away at 80, of course, with a fantastic performance. It's a sign of the fact that age is just a concept that we have from when we're young. And then when we reach a certain age, we know that, you know, if we want it, they're still full of potential, full of energy, full of ideas to be exploited.
Absolutely right. And today, these people that you mentioned, they give us what old means. And today, old is not necessarily negative. It's negative if you play football at 85 years old, of course. Yes. But you are an artist, there is no age. You can tell me when Picasso became aged. Nobody. You can follow his art, year after year, he was constantly young. He was constantly at the head of art, of design. So there is no limit to the age. There is only a physical limit. And then number two, in art, there is also no limit because art is eternal. The music of Paul McCartney is eternal. It will not die with him. The music of Mozart didn't die with Mozart. It's still alive. And every day you have a few million people listening to Mr. Mozart and singing together with Paul McCartney every day. And that is extraordinary. And that is the biggest satisfaction in art, because art helps you to get into eternity. And normally we can never get into eternity because we are all going to die. So art is a possibility, is one of the possibilities that is open to us to reach a little bit, to go to the direction of eternity. And that's beautiful. Once you reach eternity, you have done your job.
Two more questions, Jean-Claude, if you still have 5 minutes. Why did you put parts of your collection out for auction a few weeks ago? And the other question was also for the lucky buyers of the first Jean-Claude Biver watches. Will they be hand-delivered by you? Two questions in one.
So the first question, my son Pierre, who is 22 years old, he manages my collection. He is the boss of my collection. He has the right to sell, to buy. And he said to me, your collection cannot be static. Your collection has to move. And you have to have new pieces coming in and other pieces getting out. And so he made me sell 4 watches from my collection. I have a collection that is small, but it's nevertheless about 130 pieces. So I sold 4 important ones, of course, but he made just he transformed. He brought new brands in, and he put out 4 others. So he did a very, very clever move. And that's the move collectors should always do. A collection is not something that is static. A collection is completely alive, and you must not miss certain cycles of life. You must take advantage, and you must have the cleverness to leave a certain concept when you feel now the concept is going to weaken, the prices are going down. We need to go to another segment. That's what my son did with my collection. Now, the other question, my first watches, yes, we will produce 30, I hope, let's say 25 to 30 watches in 2023. And my dream would be to deliver them all. If I sell 25 watches or 30 watches, my dream would be to bring them to each customer. And that is my dream. Why is it a dream? Because I'm not sure, because of tax importations, that I can really do that. But if there's one possibility out of 100 to do it myself, I will certainly do it. That's an absolutely great concept, and it fits my concept. And it would be a pity, a real pity, if I cannot do it for the 30 watches that I'm going to produce. I hope that I can do that, and I will find the administrative problems to be solved, and I will find the way and time to do it. But it's nearly my obligation to do that. If I wouldn't do it, then my concept would be wrong. So I have to do it.
That would be amazing. That would be amazing, because once again, you will find a way to do something completely unheard of, and to make it become real and goes absolutely beyond the the simple watch experience, which would be of course already amazing but on its own. Pavlos is asking, what do you think, what are you planning to be your competitive advantage for your new brand when you compare to the top manufacturers such as Patek, or even the independent houses like Journe, if you want to answer this, Jean-Claude?
Yes, I would say we will not be ashamed to be compared to any of these brands, because I think our values are very much defendable, and we will find a way not to look stupid with these guys. I don't talk about competition, because at this level of art, there is no competition. Who was the competitor of Mozart? You cannot name them. There were other musicians that were as good as Mozart. Who was the competitor of Picasso? You cannot say. So I will never consider Journe or other brands like competitors. I consider them as friends. I consider them as, I admire them. I respect them. So that's not competition. We are just doing the same. We are in the same art, and each one has its way to express his passion, to express his art. And my way of expressing my art will be different than the expression of Patek or the expression of others. So it's important that each brand, each independent, has his own personality, how he speaks, how he designs, how he sells, how he repairs. Each one has to find. And for me, there is no competition. There are only examples to attract you, to give you more power, and to motivate you. And if I would be alone, I would have much less motivation than if I know we are together 10 or 15 or 20 great people to produce great watches. I feel more comfortable with others than alone. And if I am alone, if I run the marathon and I am the only racer, I cannot say once I have arrived, I won the marathon. No, you didn't won it. You run it, but you didn't win. Winning means you have others, competitors, the competition. I ran the marathon of New York 3 times. The first time in '81, there were 22,000 runners. I was at position 2,200. So I had 20,000 people behind me, but I had 2,200 people ahead of me. And that's the beauty of marathon. Nobody can lose, nobody can win except one guy. And
very, very good, Jean-Claude. Thank you so much. It's been 15 minutes already, so I think we've taken enough time from your well-deserved holiday and time away. I just want to remind that the next episode of our The Disruptors broadcast will be about mentorship and how key good mentorship and what a difference good mentorship can make in anyone's experience and life in general. And I have just a last question for you. One of our audience is asking which watch you're wearing today when you are in the summertime on holiday in France. Somebody's interested, and it's a thing I should do at the beginning of the broadcast, but yeah.
This is the watch you can see from the strap. This is the watch I wear every day. It's my favorite watch, and it has been my favorite watch from quite for nearly last year. Yeah, I have been wearing this watch 1 year, probably 300 days out of 360.
Thank you so much. There was one last thing from our friend Badouan from Tourbillon Watch. He was asking if you're up for a podcast, I guess, in French, parce qu'on n'a jamais fait quelque chose en francophone, donc peut-être ça pourrait être l'opportunité. And if ever, I'll pass you Badouan's contact. Badouan is doing a great job as well of sharing and caring about the world of watchmaking.
Perfect. I'm looking forward to give my opinion and to do a podcast with him. No problem.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Jean-Claude. Keep enjoying your time in southern France. And I can't wait to meet up. Maybe, as we said, at Geneva Watch Days, I will be there. And it would be great to see you around.
Okay, wonderful. See you soon. Bye-bye. We must talk when we have the next podcast. You send me a mail.
Absolutely. We'll do that. It's all about mentorship, and I will be on holiday as well that day, so it's going to be fun.
Okay.
Take care, Jean-Claude.
Ciao. Thank you very much.
Ciao. All the best.
Ciao.
Bye.